stopped on my end.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Hazmat Guys Nation Roundtable. This is a multimedia platform bringing hazmat response information and training tips from hazmat members from across the globe. I'm Bobby Salas, and I'll be acting as the host for tonight's show. And right now we're with Mike Monaco and Jason Rogers. And, the crowd is orderly filtering in the chat room. We have a Black Friday event here. People getting trampled coming into the room. Wow, they're already flying in. Okay, so
you sound like the guy announcing the Hindenburg.
Yeah, like
oh, this is going to be great.
They're moving in an orderly fashion. Oh, the humanity. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
So, what's going on?
Boy, there seems to be a lot of stuff going on this week. That's for sure.
It was. I got a couple of things on my my little feed I wanted to chat about.
I've got to
jump in. It's been beautiful weather. Let's do this.
All right. Well, then I'm going to go ahead and let's start off with the news thing, and then I'll jump into my little soapbox segment.
Okay. I have one. You know what? If you guys would allow, I have one. I just read or I listened to. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and for those of you guys that don't, there's one out there called the ACS, the American Chemical Society, the ACS. They have a bunch of episodes called Science Elements, and there's another one from UK called Chemistry and Its Element that I like. But the one I'm specifically talking about, I'm trying to find it real quick. Crap. Hold on a second. I gotta find it. It's a there it is. Okay, so a crystalline structure of the enzyme nitrogenate, which some of the microorganisms use to turn nitrogen into ammonia, has been captured and been found to remove carbon monoxide from people. It eats it.
Sounds like a chemical Forrest Gump came up with.
Yeah.
Nitrogenate.
Well, supposedly this is going to be like the next big thing in I don't want to say hyperbaric therapy because it's really not. It's just the method we use to push it out right now. But to remove carbon monoxide poisoning, this is supposedly like negates it. I think it was the University of Pittsburgh or Philadelphia that was doing it. I should have flagged this on my phone, but it looks like because I started listening to it, I lost it. Hold on a second. I will find it though. But you guys can chat about this for a second.
That would be something that would be pretty cool because then you have a medication for the CO and you have a medication for the hydrogen cyanide and the fires. As far as firefighting goes, that would be that'd be a pretty big. We don't have to wear our SCBA anymore.
It's
just carry around needles for this stuff.
Man, stab me in the heart with this stuff. Give me the Jenny.
I need Jenny.
Oh, come on, man. I know where it is.
What's it like? Attached to the hemoglobin or what?
Yeah, they had a small thing in the show notes on this, and that's where it really was interested. Here it is. Carbon. I found it. Okay, this is episode for them. Doesn't say an episode number. But anyway, here's the full reading on it. It says a fast-acting antidote for carbon monoxide poisoning can help emergency personnel save lives during their emergencies. The guy's host is Bob Hirschon, and he says that they're outsmarting carbon monoxide, and they're, despite sickening over 50,000 people in the United States every year and sometimes causing brain damage or even death, there is still no fast-acting antidote for carbon monoxide poisoning. Now, University of Pittsburgh researchers hope to change that. Vascular biologist Mark Gladwin says that carbon monoxide binds to the blood protein hemoglobin in place of oxygen. And so now and that will block and the CO will block the ability of your hemoglobin to carry the oxygen. But Gladwin's team reports in Science Transitional Medicine that they've genetically engineered a variant of the protein called neuroglobin that will quickly bind to the carbon monoxide and render it harmless. And afterwards, the CO is rapidly cleared from the blood into the on the neuroglobin.
So basically, it has a higher affinity for the CO than the hemoglobin does.
Yeah, than the hemoglobin hasn't for the or vice versa. So it's a stronger magnet, if we could say that.
It's
That's
exactly
a good way.
what
No,
it is.
that's a good way to.
But if that, I mean, that's amazing. So I mean, listen, there's a chemistry podcast out there, and I listen to all of them because I'm an uber nerd. But that's I haven't heard the episode yet, but that really struck a chord. That's interesting stuff.
So is it just being developed? Is that?
It seems like
it's still in it's still in research.
it sounds like
it's still in research.
Yeah.
Because it's only a 5-minute podcast in itself, which is very digestible. But they just basically crack open the new stuff and let you run with it. But Kevin Ryan saying about the cyano kit for automatically to fire victims. We have that in New York City. I know it's very expensive, like really expensive, right, Jason?
Yeah, like over $1,000, I think.
Right,
and
it's $3.50 in Canada, $3.50 in
50
Canada.
cents.
Yeah, India gets it for a quarter.
It's even cheaper. It's made in Mexico, though.
Yeah, but that's the deadly duo, that whole hydrogen cyanide and the carbon monoxide. But it's almost cost prohibitive. I know in my volunteer fire department, we wanted to get one kit just in case, and it was too much. And then you go to New York City, and I think they have one on every ambulance.
It's too expensive. It was too expensive for us to carry in our fleet just because we wouldn't use it that often. And, you're literally replacing it every 8 or 10 months. So,
yeah, we had 2 on every rescue truck, which in our area is an ambulance. And then they took them off because they expired, and they put like 2 or 3 in the Chiefs cars and a couple on hazmat.
Yeah.
So we're replacing everything with Narcan. That's all we're going to carry now.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
That's what the nurses are going to start giving that out at the elementary schools.
We're going to crop dust out here in the sticks. We're just going to crop dust the city with Narcan.
With Narcan.
Yeah.
My 8-year-old daughter came home with a Narcan kit in a birthday bag. I thought it was a little much.
Yeah.
She guessed it.
By 8 years old, you should be already using it. I mean, there's no harm in this stuff anymore, right? You got the antidote, so whatever. Let them go loose.
Mike is true. He said heroin is so 2016, and it is. It is yesterday. Who's doing it? Those kids.
Awesome.
The hipsters are going to bring it back next year, so that's going to be great.
You know what I heard is coming back is the synthetic marijuana.
Yes.
Have you guys seen some of that? We haven't here yet. We're still knee deep in the H.
We have a whole corner called K2 Corner.
Do you really?
Oh yeah, that's where they all gather right downtown and do it.
We had a few people. Hopefully, they didn't have the chance to reproduce when this happened, but they lit themselves on fire like a Roman birthday candle, running down the streets of Brooklyn because they were trying to make K2. And
was that the video on the Facebook
video we saw?
No, I think that the Facebook video was bath salts, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But we've had people manufacturing K2, and in the process, they've lit themselves up and perished in the streets while on fire.
Yes. I'm trying to put that link without starting the whole video on the group is the chat. So if you want to watch it, this happened in Brooklyn. It's not me. But this is from what I understand, everybody writing on that crackhead. It is not a crackhead. Crackhead was from the 80s. This is the stuff that we're dealing with now. The synthetic stuff that you can see. When a crackhead lit themselves on fire, they put it out. Right. They knew it. They were on fire. This guy is totally disconnected neurologically from his body. So, So, anywho, good stuff. So, if that, I'll keep an eye on this one. I'm interested in that because that would be huge. Though it's a protein, so I'm assuming it's going to have to be some type of transfusion Or can they do a bolus of proteins? I wonder if they could do that.
And that's gonna be dangerous. I think you're going to
Almost like a platelet shift.
yeah, I think it's gonna have to be something that's run in over time.
I would think so too. Carfentanil.
I don't know, but yeah,
that's another big one that we probably get into next show, because me and Mike have a lot to say about that whole.
I do. I have a report on my phone that came to me from Christina Baxter about fentanyl labs and things like that, and what they recommend for the PPE, and a little different than what our buddies in blue are jumping into constantly. So,
interesting.
A little bit of love.
Shocker.
So, James, we'll talk about that next week. We'll probably get on our soapboxes for a little while about carfentanil. I like saying that word. It's fun.
It is a fun word. And it's nice because it's one of the few F sounds that's actually an F.
Yes. Fentanyl.
Yes.
So who else has got something? Jay, you got something? You got anything on the plate?
We had an interesting call, and I was not on it, so I'm going to just tell you what I heard from the back of the tailboard. Was we had a gentleman that decided that pull a prank, and he was going to essentially douse himself in what he thought was paint, but it turned out to be roof tar.
Oh, that's even funnier.
Well, so
did he have a feather pillow that he was shaking over?
Like I said, I wasn't there. I didn't get to see it. I just heard some stories, but I thought it was a rather ingenious decon. Of course, they didn't. He didn't know what it was, and our guys actually had to figure it out because it was just a bucket that I don't know. The weather's been nice here, so I'm not sure what they're doing with it. If they were trying to, it was set out for the trash or whatever. Like I said, I don't know all the details. However,
what's nice? 20?
Yeah, it's 20 and no. It's been 60 here and sunny.
Wow.
I'm watching all three of you guys with hoodies on, and I'm the only one with a shirt on.
And a suntan, I might add.
And the suntan. Yeah, it was like 75 today.
There's a reason we hate you.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. But anyway, so they kind of went the thermo way to get this guy kind of unstuck. They went to the local pantry and bought bags of ice to cool it down.
To chip it off?
And they chipped it off. And where it was thick, it came off. And where they had thin layers, they tried to get it off of him and stuff, but apparently he was covered in it. And they actually used a detergent in the decon room, and once the team got set up at the hospital. I thought it was pretty ingenious. Our hazmat captain, Greg Michael, came up with ice to chip it off. I thought
increase something.
So something cool, something new. I got to give a shout out to the boys in Anderson. They're supposed to be watching tonight at Station 4 while they're on duty. So I want to give a shout out to those guys.
That's like when I first got in the fire department. I remember the rumor was running around. Yeah, if you ever, I'm sure you guys have it. The roadwork kettles. And this is not a hazmat thing. I'm on a little bit of a side thing, but those hazmat, the tar kettles that they ride around.
Patch.
The hot patch. They throw down. Well, they go on fire every once in a while.
Sure.
First time I ever saw one, they're like, "How do you put this out?" Because you throw water in it, it basically explodes. It's steam explosions. So all you do is you take the next block of tar and you throw it in there, and because it rapidly cools it, it puts the fire out. And it's counterintuitive. I'm adding fuel to actually extinguish the fire. That's my little fire nugget right there.
And that just probably saved somebody's life.
Yeah, probably. I've only seen like 6 of them. It's like, who sees 6? I don't know.
You're gonna have to save that nugget for the firefighter podcast we're gonna be producing soon.
A leaker.
Oh. Anyway,
it's a teaser.
My nugget is kind of interesting. It's something that I never really thought of before, and actually, my boss had never really thought of before, John Cassidy, and so we were playing around and learning some basic things, advanced things, basic things about the meters that we have, and it turns out that I had no idea what would happen to my meters in a fully saturated environment. And what I mean is, take your LEL sensor, right, with a Wheatstone bridge, and take it into a above 100% LEL environment, let it go off, and then walk outside. What happens to your meter? And there's actually a reason for what is happening to your meter. And if you have a Wheatstone bridge, there's a very good chance that your meter is going to go into a lock mode.
Yes.
All right. There's two types of modes when it comes to alarms. You have a lock mode and you have a latch mode. Lock mode basically turns the meter off without shutting down. The meter is rendered useless. It's going to continue to alarm. It is not going to read anything. The Wheatstone bridge actually shuts down, and you will not be able to reset that alarm until you actually physically almost power the unit down and then turn it back on again. Right. And the reason for that is, as you approach the LEL, that Wheatstone bridge is creating a catalyst reaction, a chemical reaction. With chemical reaction comes heat, and the resistance is read across that wire. As you increase your LEL, you're increasing the heat inside that unit, and it's a self-protection mechanism that allows that meter to shut down and not get burnt out. So you may have to, I would recommend doing what we did, which is taking a empty paint can, putting some gasoline in it, and putting your various meters in there, oversaturating them, and see what happens to your alarm levels. When can you reset? When can you not reset? Do you have a locking alarm? Do you have a latching alarm? And by latching alarm, I mean it will allow you to reset once it drops below that threshold. So a latching alarm allows you to reset when you drop below the threshold, and the locking alarm essentially will not let you shut down even once you go outside of that threshold. It was something that was interesting to me. It was a little tidbit, and really what it boils down to the hazmat technician is to be able to describe to somebody that is remote what is happening to that meter. All right. So if I have a gas meter, somebody's come out of a full LEL environment, and they're on the phone with us, and they're saying, I don't know, we walked in, it went off, we walked out, we can't get it to shut off. I kind of know what they did. Like, because I know how that meter is going to react in the extreme, I know what they went through. I can kind of get a better idea of what happens. Now, conversely, our IR sensor for LEL does not have a locking alarm because it doesn't need a locking alarm. It will not generate heat in the process of determining the lower explosive limit. So know the technologies, know what they do in the extreme environment that they each have to be in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It does a lot, because the meter that you're talking about here is specifically the Altair 4, which is
the
an
4X.
And that's what Mike Kimura was talking about. That's the one we actually did. And one of the things that I picked up on this, because we really delved deep into it, is that we were always told there's pluses. Well, there's actually pluses and X's, and each one means something different. So that was a little nugget that I pulled out of that little training. Know your meters, especially at the high end, because it's not time to break out the manual at that point. You learn while you're not on the clock. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I never would have thought to say, hey, let me max out my meter and see what happens as it comes out of range. Like, it's just not something I really thought of, but we played with it in the firehouse the other day, and I learned a lot about the meters, and now I can comfortably have a good idea of what somebody went through when they call me up and they go, hey, we were just in an environment, it's going off, and I can't get this thing to shut up. Like, no matter what I do, I can't push the buttons. It's not resetting. It's going off. It just gives you a really good picture of what's going on.
Hi, Phil.
Cool. Hi, Phil.
He's in the timeout chair or something like that.
It's a nice uniform.
It was beautiful.
It's like he came from a command meeting.
Oh, there he is. Take off the tie and everything.
Since it's coming up in the chat room, do we have any info on the frozen sperm bank guy?
Eesh.
The nitrogen?
Is
The
that
guy that
question
died in the nitrogen?
field? Oh boy. Was that question to me or to the group?
To the group. To anybody. Anybody got any information on it? They're asking about it in the on the thread, so
I did a little bit more research, and of course, like we always say on this, it makes me wonder with coroner's reports, because we understand that you can asphyxiate off nitrogen, but then, it's not going to say, but was there maybe a heart-related event in conjunction with that? And I was, of course, digging because he allegedly went in to rescue somebody, and he was the only one, unfortunately, that was deceased. So I assume the other person, horrible thing. But that's all I know. Do you know anything more, Jason?
I don't, and just from what we talked about today on the phone, I kind of agree. I think there may be a secondary cause that comes out after the coroner's report. I would be surprised to see. I would be surprised if there was not another maybe mitigating factor in his death.
now why is that? You don't think he could have walked into an environment low oxygen and went down?
No, I think he could, absolutely. What I think is, I mean, if somebody else was in there, he went in to effect a rescue and they came out alive, they are either the best scuba diver without oxygen in the world, or something. I don't know. You know what I mean? Not all the puzzle pieces are there, so I hate to second guess. And obviously, it's a horrible, horrible incident when somebody loses their life. So, I mean, I hate to be. I don't want to be critical of it, but I would be surprised if there wasn't something else there, if indeed somebody was rescued from the environment.
Yeah.
And then we always say this: we're not going to, beat him up. He's not here to defend himself. But what would we do? You're responding to this, or I'm sorry for being late, and if I'm a beat behind, if we'd gone through this yet. But however, we could pick it apart to talk about nitrogen asphyxiation. I mean, seems pretty benign since 78% of it is hanging out right now.
Who's that? Mike Kimura said that the officer was shot in the face 5 years ago as in a drug arrest.
Oh my gosh!
You got shot in the face once, Bob? No. I just wanted to see what I heard me. All right. Anyway.
I always wondered what that scar was.
Reminds me of Nick Gunn. That was funny. Anyway, what else do you got? Phil, you got anything to bring to the table tonight? Bob, Kosh, anyway?
I'm sorry, I just got out of I got out of a very long meeting, so I hadn't had a chance to collect my thoughts. I did have some things, and I apologize. I'm out of it.
Okay. Bob, what do you got?
Just real quick, we had a simple run today that a lot of people probably go to, and was talking to a couple of people about it earlier. But an automatic fire alarm in a residence in the middle of the afternoon, people are probably working, maybe not. And when we got there was nothing. My guys walked around the building. They found the side door that was open to the garage. And as they opened the door, they noticed a light haze in the structure. You know, how many times we've been to something like that? Once the door was open long enough, we were able to see on the floor leading from one end of the garage towards the door that went to the house several bug bombs. So what the people did is they didn't call their alarm company and let them know they were doing this. It tripped the smoke detector. And here we go to a regular fire alarm, bunker gear on, SCBA, the whole 9 yards. And as soon as you open it, you see this light haze. And fortunately, we were able to see without going in any further what was in front of us. Otherwise, how many people would have walked right up because they wouldn't think about putting their mask on like they should. And next thing you know, your lips are tingling, your tongue's tingling, and maybe you're starting to have shortness of breath. So that that simple call, from a firearm turned into what could have been a hazmat call.
Wow.
But nobody
Yeah,
was hurt.
we pretty much had, not me and Bob, but the city had something like that, and literally the first 3 units on scene went to the hospital.
Yeah.
Because they walked in, no mask, they were exposed. It was some Chinese pesticide. That's the one where we were using the Google Translate to get a good idea what the chemical was. And man, it happens. Guys walk into this stuff, they're not thinking.
Yeah. I wanted to throw something on here. Mike, can you make me an admin for this?
Doing it now.
Thank you, sir. I wanted to throw a question up here. This is an interesting question. Let's see how many people know this. If I can create a poll. I can't create a poll. That stinks.
Yeah, you can. You can create a poll right on the fly.
I can't. Not letting me. Let's see. Maybe I can do it. Create a poll. Load. Oh, here it is. Okay. I'm going to put it in there. You guys continue to talk.
Okay. What shall we talk about?
Talk amongst yourselves.
Finish up on asphyxiation, because I think what's gnarly about that one, and whether there was a secondary cause or not, but we had the confined space one a couple of weeks ago, and from what we know, that firefighter is still with us, right, and doing well, who made the decision and was going for a rescue and actually was wearing his BA, but then it worked out that he had to remove it. And man, I think any of us in his position, it did what he had to do. And in this case, I know that cop was doing what he thought was right going in, and now, but difference being, if it was a fire crew or anybody that had an SCBA, I can't think of a lot of things other than projectiles, explosives, that an SCBA wouldn't protect you from in that same situation. But unfortunately, that wasn't. And of course, if you didn't have a BA, you can open some doors and windows and try to ventilate. But I hope we find out more about that one.
Yeah, it's crazy. It kind of fits right into that whole, everybody putting their liquid CO2 tanks right down in the in their basement, and then there's a leak, and people are walking into this stuff, and you're not thinking that a couple steps into a room and a couple deep breaths in, and you're going down. It's just that's the last thought going through anyone's mind.
And that was like, I talked about it in a previous show, and I know since we have so many fans, I'm sure it's already gone viral around all the message boards. But the one I had years ago at a university where power failure in a, microbiology lab, and their 20-degree cooler, what did they do? Of course, they got some dry ice, and I'm kind of giving the punchline away, but cops responded because there was a 85-pound Chinese lab assistant laying with blood coming from her head and her feet sticking out of the freezer door. They thought it was some sort of homicide. She got transported, was alive, and when all was said and done, it was the dry ice off-gassing in an enclosed, I wouldn't call it confined, but an enclosed space. She walked in to get some materials, went down due to the lack of O2. Luckily, when she fell, she did hit her head, but luckily it knocked the door open, so she had just enough oxygen at the floor and with the door open. But this whole thing, I mean, for probably an hour and a half, it was considered some sort of crime, and they're locking down the building. And then we showed up as hazmat as an afterthought. I mean, the psychics and the circus clowns had already left, and then we kind of put 2 and 2 together. Hey, those boxes over there were off-gassing the dry ice. So it's, any simple asphyxiant as well as oxygen displacement is enough to knock somebody on their butt. So that's it's a bad deal.
We had similar things during Sandy, the big superstorm that swept through a couple years ago, wiped out tons and tons of restaurants and buildings in Manhattan and Brooklyn, literally thousands of people without power. And a lot of these places tried to save their stuff by getting dry ice. And a lot of their refrigerators in the city are in the basement. So people were chocking their refrigerators and freezers full of dry ice, and then employees were going down to get stuff, and they were dropping like flies.
They're swooning.
Swooning.
Swooning. They get the vapors and they fall. They fall out.
So
The vapors.
the poll is ringing it out. Look at that. Oh, my God.
So we're not allowed to participate in the poll because I'm just seeing results.
I guess
Yeah,
not.
what was the poll?
Really pick one. So I wrote that in the poll thing that as a rule, how many half-lives must a radioactive isotope experience to decrease to less than 1% of its original value? And the answer is a 6, 7, 8, or 9. Nobody's dared to take an 8. That's a good choice. 7 and 9 are tied at 29%, and 6 at 43. We are getting up to the point of ending, so I'm going to let it go, and we'll finish up with this thing.
Ooh, I got to say something about Half-Life, though.
Go.
Well, dovetail to that, to be not hazardous waste anymore, anything radioactive, how many half-lives does it have to go through? And how does it qualify?
There's a caveat to that.
Oh.
This question often irritates me because there's a blanket answer and nobody ever qualifies it with a reason.
Yes, it has to qualify first because it doesn't qualify for everything. And if it does, how many?
Oh. I'll have to bring that out at the next show.
Basically, Mike and I are just smarter than everybody.
Yeah. He's doing sign language up there, and I can't.
Mike says bring back the game show, so maybe this should be part of the next game show.
And I only remember it because I had to draw it with a Sharpie on boxes over and over and over and over again, and you kind of memorize stuff. It was like punishment for.
Oh, you mean the decay cycle where you
go boxes that had to be put into storage for decay. So you cannot. It was like Bart Simpson writing his chalkboard thing.
Oh,
that's why I remember it. So I know I'm right.
We'll bring it out. We'll open up the show with a poll, a question, and at the end we'll talk about the answer, and we'll do that. So that's about wrapping up, and we're going to go into the poll at the end. Wrapping up another episode of the Hazmat Guys Nation Roundtable. Be sure to follow us on our Facebook pages, which is Hazmat Nation and the Hazmat Guys. Let's go around really quickly around the table and tell everybody where we can find each other. Mike, where are we going to find you?
You're going to find me at the Hazmat Guys, the podcast that we put on every week. You can get a hold of us on Facebook, seems to be the most popular. Email me, Mike at thehazmatguys.com. And if you want to throw out a question for another possible show that we're going to be putting on called Ask the Hazmat Guys, you could send us. Oh, did I drop that too soon?
Yeah, all right. Why not? No, you know what? We're doing it.
We're doing it. So if you have questions, send it to us. Technical stuff, we're going to do the research and get back to you. This is not stuff that we know off the top of our head, but we're going to do the research and get back with an answer. So email me any questions that you might have.
Jason?
You can reach me at jason@hazmatnation.com and check us out definitely at Hazmat Nation, as everyone always does. We've gone viral like 4 or 5 times this week. It's just killer. Thousands of views.
We even got the attention of some hazmat jihad.
We did. We have gone to such worldwide domination of the internet that the hackers we've been targeted. So our patriotism is off the charts.
Bob Kosh, where can we find you?
You can get me at bobkosh@hasm.com or hcmtlt@gmail.com. And some of us, I think, will be at FDIC, and some of us won't. So I think three of the 5 of us will be there, right?
Yeah, but we will all be in Baltimore.
Bobby and Mike, maybe, but we will all be in Baltimore.
Right.
For
Baltimore.
sure.
With a hopefully a big party to follow.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There'll be a private party as well.
Phil, what about you? Where can we find you?
A membership only. If you are a card carrying member of Hazmat Nation, there will be a private party. Whoever has that card, you're paying. I'm here. Sorry I was late. I was happy to join, and thanks for everybody that's always come and participated. And FDIC, yes. Anybody that's planning on going out there, and then Baltimore, it's going to be here before we know it. I know our own Buzz blog, Kevin Ryan, is teaching a class. I think, in fact, everybody in these squares is somehow teaching a class or trying to keep everybody awake in one of our other classes.
Very nice. And lastly, and certainly least, my name is Bobby Salvesen, and I'm one of the other co-hosts for the podcast. We got a couple of things coming on the line in the next couple of months. Really rethinking the show, a whole bunch of different things, adding some real good stuff to it. So stay tuned with that. We will both be at New York State Hazmat Conference. We will be at the Massachusetts Hazmat Conference. We will be at Cold Zone. We'll be at Baltimore. We're making the rounds. Apparently, we're cool. I don't know how that happened, but anyway,
In the world of hazmat, if you're cool, are you actually cool?
no,
No.
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 You gotta be cryo to be cool.
Nerd.
Really nerd, right?
It's just super nerd. Hey, I'm saying we got to make the T-shirts that have all the dates on the the old school
Like a
80s
tour.
Like a concert.
Yeah, like the tour, the hazmat guys tour.
With the
Oh.
hashtag ATCS, right? Acute Toxic Classroom Syndrome.
Yeah.
Okay, so as a rule, how many half-lives must a radioactive isotope experience to decrease to less than 1% of its original value? The correct answer is 7. 7 is the correct answer. So if you get that, you could buy us a beer in Baltimore. All right. So be sure to catch this next week's show live every Tuesday, 21:15 hours Eastern Standard Time on webinarjam.com. If you're not getting that webinarjam.com link, please go to Hazmat Nation and you should be able to find it right there. And we also will be posting these on YouTube, so you can go check that out. So without any further ado, I'd like to say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you, boys.